Welcome to yet another episode of the Let's Be Real Estate Show, where we talk to real people about real experiences in the world of real estate. I'm your host, Darrin, and today our guest is Andy Lamb with W3 Financial, a partner and financial advisor. We're going to dive into all things estates, financial preparedness, and it's a really good conversation. Hope you enjoy it. For this. In research, you may have different statistics, but it says that 31 to 36% of Americans have a financial plan. Does that sound about?
That seems a lot higher than I would guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to guess like 5 to 10.
Okay. Yeah, that's
so
something.
That seems a lot higher.
Yeah, and so it's a Morgan Stanley report, I guess they put out.
Okay.
They said, there's varying degrees. There's varying different statistics, but generally popular, or according to the Google, 31 to 36% have a plan, but 27 to 30% use a financial advisor for that, or a wealth manager. How do you We're probably going to get into it, like financial advisor, financial planner. I've heard these terms. Is there a difference?
Yeah, I struggle with that. I don't necessarily think there is a difference, at least how I view it in my role. I know financial advising and financial planning kind of incorporates everything.
Is there actually like a difference though between the two?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, when you look at the definitions, they're very similar in terms of giving financial advice versus financial planning. I would assume financial advice or financial advisor could be just more area specific, versus financial planning. When I think of it, really encompasses like everything. So, and that's what I guess I call myself a financial advisor. Well, my business card says it, but I do mostly financial planning. I'm a certified financial planner, so that's kind of what we lead with on everything.
Is there a different certification that you need to get to be an advisor versus a planner?
So to be a certified financial planner, yes.
Okay.
So you have to go through the CFP course to be a certified financial planner, which takes a couple years to do that. To just be a financial planner, financial advisor, no, you could just call yourself that. I think after you get your Series 7 or 66, then you can kind of check the box and you can at least sell product to do it legally.
Yeah. Like a lot of our audience may not really know, as we talked about statistically, at least 70, probably a solid 70% of people don't have a plan in place.
Yeah.
Right? So for that population of 70%, why should they have a financial advisor in their life?
I mean, it is just really important you're kind of guessing at how things are going to work out in your life. So I feel like a lot of times people are scared to maybe know the results, so they probably don't do it. But I would say it is really important to, if you ever want to retire, if you ever want to live, I would say financially free and have peace financially, to have a plan is super, super important to do that. So I think it's really important.
How about a lot of people are, I forget the statistic, maybe it's even like 95% of people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Right? So in that scenario, when do you start? If you don't have money, how do you start to say, is it, at what point do you say, hey, it's time to have a plan?
Yeah, so I would say, and I talk with, so not necessarily a lot of my clients, but a lot of clients' kids that are either in high school, I've met with them before, or either in college. It's a great time whenever you start getting your first job, hey, I just got my first paycheck, what do I do with this?
Right.
I think people's initial thought is, hey, I'm going to go spend it at Chipotle, or I'm going to go buy something at the mall. But I would say the really successful people I've met have a plan for those dollars, because if you don't have a plan for that, the money's going to have a plan for you, and you'll spend it.
That's good.
So yeah. I would say anytime you first start getting income, it is really important to either have a plan to say, hey, I want to save this, spend some, or at least kind of plan for the future with it all.
So we sit down with a lot of first-time home buyers, and also having older kids that are in their 20s, same thing. Starting your job, are there principles that you guide, even at a young age? Are there certain things that you're like, hey, here's just a good idea.
Yes.
Live like this. Yeah.
Most people don't have an emergency fund. So when you mention living paycheck to paycheck, 95% of people are doing that. That basically says they don't have an emergency fund to do that. So I would say setting up an emergency fund is super important. I know Dave Ramsey's, his rules are a nice kind of basic guideline, and I semi-follow a lot of them as well. So I would say starting with an emergency fund is probably the most important thing you can possibly do, and at least gives you a little bit of you can sleep a little better at night when you have that.
What's the right amount for emergency fund?
Yeah, so it's different. I would say the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of living expense. So that's the rule of thumb. And I say 3 months if you're like a single man or woman, and that's because usually 3 months, hopefully you can find another job or something if you were to lose it, or maybe a big expense, you can hopefully cover that. 6 months is usually for like a family, like myself. My wife doesn't work, so kind of have to make it up twice in terms of the living expense.
Yeah.
I would say 3 to 6 months is a good base.
Good starting point. Yeah.
It's a good starting point. I would say most people that live very financially, call it free, they have probably a year is a good base.
Okay. When we say free, like I've heard different terms and stuff like that, but like what is it? The retire early one, the FIRE principle. Yeah. So like, what are some like
independent, retire early?
Okay. Yeah. Financially independent, retire early, FIRE. All right.
Yep.
So what are some of those principles? Like we're talking, we'll get into like the meat of what we're dealing with here. But like, what is FIRE? Or is that a good principle to live by?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's different. It depends on your goals. I mean, some people like love to work, and they love their job. I would say the FIRE generation, I would say their primary purpose in life is not to work. It's to just travel, be with their family, do fun stuff, and that's a little different. And I don't think I follow that premise in terms of like that's how I want. Now I do want to live financially free, so I do want to make sure my retirement's taken care of, and that's I think the financial planning realm. I want to make sure I have an emergency fund. I want to ideally live debt free. It's important, at least to me personally. Or if I do have debt, what am I within my means on that? So that's something we look at.
Yeah, I think of just like retirement plan or planning your finances is a very personal thing because everybody has different financial goals. But are there certain things that you're saying, hey, it's a structure?
Yeah.
You might have a whole bunch of different goals, but there are like these steps that every person should walk through.
Yeah, every person should definitely walk through like what's your number for a savings account, like emergency savings. I would say everyone should at least think in the back of your mind, like, do you want to retire? And if so, like, how can we kind of work backwards to get there? And then one thing we haven't talked about yet is just like how to protect what I have, and how do you protect if an unforeseen circumstance happens, a death, a sickness, illness. That's usually when insurance kind of comes into play to help protect a lot of that.
Yeah, it's not a matter of if it happens.
Yeah,
when. I'm sure you see this, right?
Yeah, I mean everyone I would say has somehow been affected by health in their immediate circle.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into this? How did you get
to this field?
Yeah, how did you get started?
I kind of stumbled into it. My dad's financial advisor was looking for a summer intern when I was a sophomore in college, and I kind of liked financial planning and the stock market a little bit. I was more interested in, once I interned, the people aspect of it, so just meeting with families and kind of understanding their story and then really just helping them. I mean, that's what I have more of a passion for. I'm not super passionate, candidly, on like the stock market and investing. Like I'm not one to kind of look at what's the best stock to buy. I just like helping families. So I interned with them, and then, so that was 4 months, and then fall came, and he's like, hey, do you want to stick around for the fall? And so I did that, and he's like, and then I never left, and then I was there for 9 years, and then I joined the firm that I'm at now for 6 years.
Okay, so you're at W3 Financial. What is the 3?
W3, so it's a great question. It is wisdom, wealth, and worth is our W3.
Great.
So
wisdom, wealth, and worth.
Yeah.
What are some of those? Like, why were those words like?
Kind of. Yes, I mean, we're really just trying to promote wisdom in terms of finance, and that's one of the pastors at our church kind of spoke about this, especially with this AI generation, which is super important. I would say, like with ChatGPT, you can look up basically anything you want. I would say financially, like, hey, how to start a Roth IRA, how to invest. But do you have the wisdom to go out and actually give advice and to see like how this actually plays into it? So that's what we really try to give advice and counsel on. Worth, just to kind of build either your net worth or just like your self-worth. whether that's through philanthropy and giving or it's taking care of your family. And then of course wealth, trying to hopefully build some wealth at the same time.
Hopefully
usually
you guys do that. Yeah. What are some, as I mentioned, like our audience tends to be folks that are like buying and selling homes in, kind of like living life.
Yep.
Right. So, we work with estate planning attorneys. We work with folks that are first-time home buyers all the way through downsizing and even post-death families that inherit properties.
Yeah.
So kind of seeing the whole spectrum of life, seeing great scenarios, seen bad scenarios, but from your experience so far, these 15 plus years of doing this, like, what are some of those biggest pitfalls that you've seen families make time and time again?
I would say just kind of the lack of communication and the lack of planning. I mean, I think a lot of times, and I've seen it in my own personal family, I've seen it with a lot of clients, is, hey, it's not going to matter to me, it's not going to happen to me, so I'm just not going to kind of do it. And you see it a lot with estate planning. It's an unfortunate conversation. It's an easy one to have with an estate planning attorney, but I think a lot of people are scared of it. Usually financially is a big reason, but they don't necessarily have to be scared of basic estate planning stuff. Okay. And I know we're going to talk about that today, is like there's a lot of stuff you can do that doesn't require an attorney and you can do for free, that can check a lot of those boxes to alleviate a lot of those pitfalls, because you really don't want to leave it all to your kids or your next generation, and then they got to figure out the pieces and they're cursing your name on, like, why didn't mom and dad just sign this simple form, and our life would be so much easier.
Yeah, no doubt.
So.
It's also, what I like about this is that you have another person at your side helping you. It's like the family can build a team of the right people in their life to help things transition smoothly. Is ultimately the goal. But so it's interesting that you said, like, communication, lack of planning. Like, there's a generational thing that I see in, I'm a little older than you. My parents, probably older than your parents. When I look at my parents and my parents' generation, this like conversation about money, it's not happening. Like my dad actually has a trust and has all the stuff set up. But I have no idea what it is. And I'm actually one of the executives. Trustees on there. And so it's like, all right, well, I'm the co-trustee with one of my brothers, and it's I really don't know about it. And so it's interesting that, like, even though, like, he has a plan in place, it's still not something we sit down and we talk about very often, are very clear on everything. But how do you bridge that gap? Have you had that experience?
We have, and that's something, like, I try to communicate with the clients, especially what's called the older generation, saying, hey, we'd love to meet with, your sons or daughters, or who's going to handle this, and let's have a meeting together. And maybe you don't want to expose, like, hey, this is how much money we have, but at least kind of understand, like, what's your goals with this? Why do you do what you do with the money or the house or the real estate or the gold you have in the safe? Like, what's the purpose of this, and, like, how do you want to see it play out past your life? So that's, I would say, an easier conversation, or something we always try to promote. And then I think it makes the transition, I would say, after death usually, so much smoother, because then the next generation knows, like, hey, if anything happens to mom and dad, come see Andy, and he'll take in our team at W3, and we'll kind of take care of it. At least we know where the bodies are buried, in terms of, like, where's all the accounts, where's everything at, where's the insurance policy, because if not, we've seen so many times where these unclaimed funds, that there's just, like, billions of dollars. I think it's probably true.
Is that really a thing?
Oh yeah, we have my assistant, every meeting, she goes through unclaimed funds and checks to see if a client has any funds. And we have found some.
Wow.
Quite a bit.
What happens in a situation where somebody does a great job with the plan, and then they don't really have heirs or next of kin? Like, what happens then?
So I deal with a fair amount of clients that they don't have kids, or other families passed away. So that's when we really kind of talk about how to maximize their usually end of life. So, hey, they want to be comfortable, they want to make sure they're in a nursing facility, and then if their goal is to just give the money away at the end, then that's, I would say, the more fun part of my job, is to try to help facilitate that for them in the best possible way. So that's kind of what we try to do.
Is there, I guess from a from a bad case scenario, like we hear about probate.
Yep.
Like this, it almost feels like it's a bad word.
Yeah.
What is your guys' take? What is a typical financial advisor's take on
probate?
On probate.
Yeah, I mean, it is very easily avoidable for the most case, especially in Ohio. It's pretty easily avoidable. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing because it is set up to really protect the person who has the asset,
Sure.
and it is set up so like a family member doesn't steal money or take things. So I would say it has a good premise behind it and why there is probate established, but I would say it is very easily avoidable, and the families will thank you over and over again if you do not have to go through it, because it'll save maybe 6 to 12 months of their life kind of fighting the battle on the funds.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
Or property.
Yep. Yeah. We've learned that in a state's asset value, it tends to be 80% of a state's value is the real estate within that estate. I'm sure when you're really getting to, with some high net worth clients, that's probably not the case.
Yeah,
80% is.
Yep.
So walking through, like, how does somebody protect their house? Like, are there certain things that when they bring an asset to you that you guys look at protecting the home?
We do. So we will kind of talk through just in terms of how the account's titled. So that's an easy one, and especially in Ohio, you can kind of title everything, whether you're married, make sure everything usually transfers easily to your spouse, and then you could have it transfer on death to your kids, if that's the plan, or you have transfer on death to your trust, if you have a trust established. So it is fairly easy to do that. The trust makes it nice if you have goals to, hey, I want to make sure that this asset, let's just say they own a farm somewhere, and I want to make sure that the family keeps this, or a vacation house, you can kind of establish that. And it also alleviates a lot of fights in terms of, well, I want to buy this house, or mom and dad said, this goes all to you, or I get to stay in the house, so it definitely can help alleviate that.
Mm-hmm. So transfer on death, I think, the TODD, transfer on death designation, is kind of the term we hear. It's interesting about probate, backing up just a little bit. We work, do podcasts with estate planning attorneys and work with them not on a daily, but pretty much a daily basis. And some of them say probate's great. We love probate. And like, we actually happen to, the county we live in here, Summit County, has a phenomenal probate court. And so they're very well known to be smooth, be compassionate, efficient. But you hear most people say, hey, probate's bad. Some people say it's actually okay. But it sounds like if you have the right plan in place, you can pretty much avoid that stuff.
Yeah, you really don't necessarily need it. And probate's fine. It's just a lot of times I see it's like, how long do you want to wait to get the money is the big thing. So you're going to get everything. Usually, probate does take a fee out of it. But yeah, it's, things can happen so quickly if everything's set up efficiently.
So when should somebody start? I mean, a plan like that?
I would say the second you establish the asset is the time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's really no reason to wait.
So if if a family uses a financial advisor like yourself, do they need an estate planning attorney?
Not always.
Okay.
I would say they can. So if like I have an estate planning attorney that I use to establish, so I do have a trust for our family. So I use an estate planning attorney for that. And then also just to set up, I have young kids. So to set up, hey, who's going to take care of the kids? What's your will? I would say, and I don't know, fast forward, but a lot of times people don't understand like what the difference between a will and some of like a trust and those documents are. So healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, all that good stuff. An estate planning attorney, you kind of need to get that all set up. Okay,
so you guys can come up with a plan, but like the legal filing of things, does an attorney need to do a transfer on death designation?
No,
okay,
we do that.
You can do that.
Yep.
On you guys, wills, no wills, again, estate planning attorney for the wills and trusts.
I usually, absolutely on the trust.
Great.
And the will, will, you don't need an estate planning attorney. Anyone can just write a will.
I mean, so I can write it on a napkin. Here's what I will. Here's what I want.
Yep. And a will is something that, again, they read at probate. So it still goes through the process. It's just like you read it at probate. So a lot of times people think, oh, I have a will. I don't have to worry about this. You do, because it's still going to be something that I would say could be alleviated.
That's great. Yeah. So that is a misconception we've heard as well. It's like whether you have a will or no will, you still could go through probate.
Absolutely.
Just because, why is that? Why?
I think, I mean, a will is just something you write on the back of I would say there's not a lot of legal recourse to it, but it is something I know they'll kind of look at when they go through the whole process at probate.
Yeah, similarly, many people don't have a will in place.
Yep.
And I think the statistic was like about 40% of
Okay.
families actually have a will. And then
Yeah.
of that, I think there's another statistic, I don't know if this is entirely true, but they said, only a small percentage, like 11% of the people that actually have a will know where it is.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So it's like, like dad passes and
Yeah.
then the family has no idea.
Yeah, when
and,
anything's
and
out.
the other thing too is outdated. So
Yep.
it's like, hey, well, we did a will back in the 70s.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, it's 2020 something.
And it's the same thing I see with the trust too. It's like people did a trust, like they do maybe when they have kids, and then they go 40 years, and it's like we haven't updated the trust since we had kids.
Okay, so how often should someone update a will or a trust?
I would say if there's any big life-changing events, that's usually the best time to do it. And that could be like, hey, your kids get married. I mean, that's a pretty big life-changing event for the family. That's something to hopefully protect as things happen, or if you have marriage, divorce, anything like that. So I would say any big life-changing events, always good to check in on it.
Okay. Back to like the estate planning attorney versus financial advisor, some of those legal documents to file.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned like assets, like a home. Should it just be okay with a estate planning attorney, or should that, or excuse me, with a financial advisor, or should that also run through a estate planning attorney? Like,
it doesn't necessarily need to. I would say a lot of the conversations I have with clients in terms of, hey, do you have everything set up properly with the house? You probably don't need to have an estate planning attorney do that. Now they can make maybe your life easier in filing it with the county, but a lot of times they can just go and file and say, hey, I want to make sure this has the transfer on death designation, or it's a joint ownership, and that usually takes care of it all. So that's something I always ask all the clients.
You got to dive into a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, like a financial mistake. Like, what's a financial mistake you see over and over again? A human behavior that we just can't figure out.
I mean, a major one I would see with investing is a lot of times people make irrash decisions when they see a lot of volatility in the market. So that's a huge one that we see time and time again. It's usually the same 5 people calling and say, hey, get me out of the stock market. I can't take this anymore. So I would say not staying the course to your financial plan and being too, I would say, focused on the news and the markets. I would say really derails people's plan.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this emotional connection to money.
Yep.
There is a spiritual connection to money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much you want to dive into this,
Yeah.
but like my thought is like, okay, personally, like an anchor point in my life is the Bible.
Yep.
All right. And so in the Bible, there's over 2,300 references to money.
Mm-hmm.
And, if we read through Matthew 6 specifically, it talks about like, don't lay up treasures here on earth.
Yep.
That could just disintegrate.
Yep.
But lay up treasures in heaven.
Yep.
Right. And then a few verses later, it says you can't serve both. You
Yeah.
have to either choose. Are you serving God or you're serving money?
Yep.
I'm going to throw this on you. So if a client comes to you
Yeah.
with these beliefs,
Yeah.
like I have, like that says,
Yeah.
hey, what's this connection
Yeah.
to the spiritual connection between your spirit and money?
Yeah, it's a great.
Are you willing to speak
I'm
about this?
100%
Okay.
willing. I mean, I have this daily conversation with myself because I'm in the same boat as you in terms of like where I'm at spiritually, and it's something I battle, and I battle it more, I would say, on the other side of it versus like the clients that come to me and they just want to grow and just make as much money as possible and greed and everything like that. So it is definitely something that I think about, and it's something that I try to, if the client comes to me and says, hey, I want to make sure that I'm not serving money and I'm serving God, how we can kind of financially get there. I would say meet a little bit in the middle in terms of how can we take care of yourself, because biblically you should provide for your family, but you don't need to have this big excess of funds. And then that's usually where we have great conversations on philanthropy and giving. What does this all mean? And that's where we hopefully guide the conversation mostly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I struggle with that for sure, because it's like, I want to make money.
Yeah.
That's what, like we're called to work.
Yep.
So I want to work, and part of work is generating an income
Yep.
so you can care for your family, you can bless others around you.
Yep.
But also like this, like there is a balance between like, hey, I'm going to have a plan in place so there's billions of dollars for my family forever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad. I don't know if I was curious if you struggle with that.
I
with
do.
clients
I mean, I struggle with clients. I struggle with myself. I have this conversation with my wife, I feel like, way too often, because that's, I mean,
your
it's
life
my
is
face.
money.
Yeah, it's in my face all day long.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading the Bible, and you're kind of like, I'm reading the Bible in the morning, then I'm going to work, and then I'm like, how do I either guide the conversation or how do I serve the kingdom the best as possible? So, I mean,
do you feel a conflict at times with it, or you're just like aware of it?
I feel better because I feel like I'm able to take a biblical mindset in terms of my belief, and I'm able to serve clients with that. And that's, I think, something that's missing, I would say, in the field, where I would say most financial advisors are really just trying to grow their pockets as much as possible, and then hopefully the same, but grow their clients' pockets as much as possible versus serving God. So I'm just trying to, with the knowledge I know and the information that I've seen, is basically try to achieve their goals the best way possible. And that's the mindset I try to take, and serve the families the best way I can. But I would say from a dollar amount, it is something I struggle every day with, like, how much money is too much? Like, how much money should you have do I need to have $10 million? Or should I have $2 million? Or should I have $100 million? Like, I don't know the right number.
Yeah.
I'm curious to have that conversation with God one day on what is the right path. But I would say, and like even I know, I believe it was in Acts when they talked about just selling everything that you have and just kind of giving everything to the kingdom. And then I have that same struggle, like, why even save?
Yeah.
But
and Tim, you can fact check me on this, but like I think it is 16 of the 39 parables are about money that Jesus taught, about money. And overall, 15% of Jesus' teachings were on the principles of money and wealth and things. And so, you look at these, like, it's obviously important because it is a vehicle for something. I almost see at times it's like it's all a matter of the heart and the position of the heart. Like, what do you want to do with it? Because you mentioned the word greed on one side, and then you mentioned like philanthropy or blessing on the other side. So you can do good with it. But is the motivation all about that, or is it about like, hey, I'm going to go to work so that I can make money today? Or it's like, I'm going to go serve my family by work that I do. But it's
it's a tough battle I struggle every day with. But it's a great question.
There's a Jewish principle that I try to remind myself of. It's basically about the tension. That you hold these two things in your hand. One is that the universe was made for you, so excess. Because you don't need the universe. And also, I am dust. So lack. So we live in that tension of excess and poverty. Like those are like the two mindsets, like poverty mindset or maybe a greed mindset of like needing or wanting more than you need. Like that walking that path between those seems to be the lifelong challenge.
It is, and I feel like it's more in our, at least in my face than ours is as than ever too. It's tough. I was just watching a documentary, like, I don't know why, I get on YouTube in the morning sometimes, and there was like a National Geographic clip this morning, and it made me think about my whole car ride in this morning, was a little boy that they took a picture. He was Chinese, and he walks like 4 miles every day to school. They were showing a video of the kid's house, and they live on, the dad makes like, I think $2,500 a year, and it's just like, it just blows my mind how these families, live like that. And I'm like, I'm living in this beautiful house and have everything I possibly want. I'm like, what on earth am I doing right now? And it's just a constant struggle. I don't know the answer other than to give.
That's interesting. This abundance mentality versus scarcity mentality. We see this a lot in business, and or like greed versus blessing or like like you're saying, like you're nothing, you're dirt, and the universe is yours. I'm giving it all to you.
Yeah,
you are richer beyond anything you could ever imagine. This is not a like a spiritual Christ-centered like podcast, but it's interesting that we went there, and so thank you for entertaining that for a minute. But it is interesting in helping families see that they can do good with it. Yeah, is cool. That's cool that you get to do that. Families, like, sometimes, when is it too late? When is it too late to have a plan?
I don't know if it's, I mean, too late. I've seen them. It's basically where someone's incapacitated and can't make a financial decision. I mean, that's when it's really too late to do that. You can go pretty far up to the end before you can, I would say, right the ship on it all. But that's, I would say, when it's too late. And then that's usually, and I just had this conversation last week, that's when the kids are coming to me like, what can we do to help protect mom and dad? And then it's trying to get financial power of attorney and all that stuff. And it is such a hassle. But usually you can get most of it, I would say, accomplished. But then it's like, was that what dad and mom wanted? And that's the struggle, I would say, a lot of kids and families face.
Do you see the struggle where it's like, hey, that's what mom and dad wanted, but I'm me, and I get to decide what I'm doing with
100%,
this?
100%, yeah.
And where it's like, hey, here's mom and dad's desire for this, and they're like, cool, great, I'm going to go do what I want.
Yeah,
and
it's a big struggle.
Is there anything, like, they can't get in trouble for that, right? Because
if I can tell this story. You're going to edit this a little, like chop it up a little bit, I would assume. I'll tell you a story. You can take it out or keep it. So, yeah, maybe don't put this in there, but I'll tell you a story. And it's just about a family. So we had the similar conflict where the dad just died, and the mom had the assets, but the kids were the ones kind of driving like what to do with it. And they were sucking money away from mom, like left and right, just pulling money out to buy a new pool, buy houses and stuff all over.
It's a big asset.
Yeah, and my partner Steve and I were like, this is just really wrong, because my duty is to the client, to Mrs. Smith, make her name, and to serve her. I have a fiduciary obligation to her, so I have a legal obligation to look at her best interest, not what the kids want. So that's where I always just try to always shift my attention, is like, what does the client want? What do we think is in their best interest? And if the kids or someone is going against that, then we kind of have to raise the red flag on the situation. So the client ended up, the son and daughter ended up pulling mom's assets to another financial advisor to manage it. So that's the end story with it all.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, Steve and I, again, I have to go to bed every night and sleep well, and I can't do that if I'm not doing the best thing possible for the clients.
Wow.
So
that's intense.
Yeah.
Good. Cut that out.
It's fine. Yeah. I didn't say anything too bad, but yeah.
Well, that stuff happens. I mean, there is this family dynamic where, hey, I get all these assets. Maybe you're thinking from a young age, me and my brothers just mess around like, oh, and mom and dad are gone, like, I get this or I get that.
Yeah.
And it's just a kind of a joke on this side of it. But I'm sure there's some real stuff, especially when there's real assets.
Absolutely. Yeah, it gets real really quick in terms of like who gets what, and what did dad said you get this or he didn't, so changes fast.
Crazy, but there's no real legal parameters in there per se.
Not really, no.
Yeah, that's sad, and that's back to family dynamics. Probably something you mentioned earlier, like communication and lack of communicating the plan. Lack of planning and the communicating on the plan. So somebody could probably start that now.
You can start that now.
You can do that now. That's free to communicate with your family. It's free.
And if you don't feel comfortable doing it now, we just started doing this where it's basically writing, it's called the I love you letter. And it's writing what you want, like, what you want your kids to know, why, why I thought this, why I bought this, how I want things to lay out. And you can kind of write this letter to your family called the love letter.
So do you help families like guide them through that process?
I will give them the parameters on and it's kind of up them to write it. It's personal to them. So we've given it out, and clients absolutely love it because they can kind of write an "I love you" letter to your family. If something were to happen, 10, 15 years from now, you can kind of say, this is, hey, what were my thoughts on money? Or why did I want to give to the church so much? Or why did I want to give to the Red Cross so much? Or Boy Scouts? What's important to me? And it's kind of a nice way to do it because I feel like, to your point earlier, I know my parents and my grandparents were not having these conversations in terms of like anything emotional about wealth. It just was kind of is what it is. So it's a way to, I would say, kind of bridge that gap softly without having that, to them, probably an awkward conversation.
Yeah, a buddy of mine was talking about a story where his father came from Russia, and he was born here. Like my buddy was born here in the United States, but his dad didn't really talk at all. Yeah, and he'd work constantly, not say much. He related to him as like Ivan Drago from Rocky IV.
Okay, yeah.
And just like very few words and just like very direct and stuff. So like I could imagine sitting down and having an emotional conversation with the family is
gotta be tough.
Yeah, it's gotta be tough. Back to the wins it too late conversation. The reason I asked that, we sat down with like a spokesperson for a senior living community, and she was relating stories about just her community and whatever, and I'm like, all of a sudden it like dawned on me, like, this stuff costs money, right? And you're needing to figure out how to come up with $60,000 to $100,000 a year for these awesome end of life like assisted living, independent living communities. How does somebody prepare for that? I mean, heck, like at this age, I got kids, I'm running around, I got a life going on, I'm saving, I'm paying for my mortgage, and like all this stuff's happening. Like, how do you balance like life, investment for my own future, and like
end of life care?
Yeah, end of life care. Long term care.
It's an interesting balance. I would say how I've seen it play out is, again, I try to guide the conversation in terms of like, hey, this is something to think about, and then usually comes back with a story, and hopefully it's from the client side of it, saying, hey, we just saw mom and dad go through this, or we saw aunt and uncle go through this, and they just spent all their money down in this nursing home facility. I don't want that to happen to me. Or a flip side of that is, I'm going to die at 75. It doesn't matter. I'll let the kids figure out. I don't care where I end up. I'm like, okay, well, at least we had the conversation. If that's your goal, and so you don't care where you end up at the end, most people do. And then the other side is like, how do I protect my wealth? And that usually comes into maybe some long-term care planning, Medicaid planning, some estate planning like that. You're, I would say, a perfect age to start thinking of like long-term care insurance. So long-term care insurance, I know everything's expensive right now. Usually in your life, you got kids and everything at different ages, but once you get to that older 65, that's when people usually come to us and say, hey, I really want to get long-term care insurance. I'm like, well, I wish we had that conversation 10 years ago, because now it's going to cost you, I'm going to make up $20,000 to $50,000 a year in premiums.
Insurance.
And they're like, well, I'm just going to, self-insure. I guess I'll just figure it out.
Yeah, it's a problem I'll deal with 20 years down the road.
Yeah. And then we will usually go through life with that client, or we see it with someone else, and it's like, hey, they're 80, 90, and it's costing $100,000 a year to be at this place. We only have 7 years left of the money. Like, what happens? And then you try to figure out with the nursing home facility and Medicaid and selling properties or not selling properties because they're excluded from the estate and on that. So that's just good conversations we have with them.
Yeah, that's great, and actually very relevant to kind of what we do and how we help families. But that long-term care stuff is like, it is like back to the emotional thing. I'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
It's an insurance that like you also don't know. Hey, I might die in a car accident tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, can you use that money? Let's pretend 25 years down the road, 75 years old, and you're like, all right, I've saved all this money in long-term care.
Yeah.
Is that like an insurance policy, or is it more like a savings account?
You can
like if you don't use it for senior care, and you're like, hey.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. So you can just do straight insurance where it's like, hey, you use it or lose it. So you pay the premiums, and then, hey, if you go to a nursing facility, it's there, paid for it. You can do what's called like a hybrid policy. That's where I try to lean most people to, is to your point, if you don't do it or if you don't need it, you can still hopefully get the money, or can usually suck the money back from it. Or there's a death benefit at the end for the fund. So if you, heaven forbid, get in a car crash at age 65, your beneficiaries get the assets. Okay. So it's not just gone.
Okay, so there's options to,
there's so many different options.
Okay.
I feel like basically the insurance companies now, you can think of an idea, they will try to make money off it and make a product.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right, so getting into the practical, so if the family's sitting here listening, what's the one thing they can do this week to be better prepared?
For
your finances. How about just
for finances?
With their finances.
Yeah, I would say have a conversation if you're married with your spouse in terms of like, hey, what's our goals in life? Like, where do we see this, and how can we work backwards to achieve those goals? So, if our goal, if you're you're newly married, and hey, we want to buy our first house. Okay, what do we need to do to get there? And then kind of work backwards on the day-to-day, week-to-week steps to achieve that goal, because it's not going to happen overnight. So
what's interesting is like when you start your career, that's kind of what you're talking about. Hey, yeah. I'm came out of college, I got this training, I'm going for it, I'm starting this career, I'm building this, and then it's like, oh, let's talk about something that's going to happen 40 years down the road.
Yeah.
And so it's like it is this interesting challenge, because you're like, hey, I'm starting my career, so the first thing I need to do is think about ending it.
Yeah.
And has to be some kind of mental shift.
It is.
I would imagine that's why a significant majority of people don't have a financial plan in place.
For sure. Yeah, and everyone makes, I call it an excuse. Everyone makes an excuse. Hey, things are so expensive now. I can't possibly afford to put 5 or 10% into my 401k or anything right now. I can barely buy groceries. Or I can't possibly put a down payment on a house, so I'm going to forgo my retirement account. So that's something that we have that conversation with all the time, to hopefully try to steer them a little bit towards, hopefully can do both if they can.
Yeah. It's almost like you have to, set up your lifestyle, not on your paycheck, but based on your plan. It's like
and I'll use myself as an example. I'm 35, and I would say even younger than me, generation like sacrifice. My grandparents would sacrifice everything, and my parents would too. Our generation as a whole, sacrifice isn't really a word that we use, or I would say even practice very much. It's, hey, what can I do? How many trips can I go on? What's my work-life balance? How many vacations am I going to go on this year? And that's important to us. It's not the future. Hey, I'll figure that out later as it comes. So sacrifice isn't something that I would say most younger people are used to doing.
Do you see a correlation there with maybe financial literacy from generation to generation? Has that gone down?
Yeah, my only thought with it in terms of why I think it's gone down is, and I'll use my family's example, I saw my dad sacrifice so much and my grandparents sacrifice so much, and like their life in my eyes was like just work and boring, and they have all this money, but like what did they live life, or like what was it worth? In their eyes, maybe they did. And then I think in at least my generation, I feel like I do not want that at all. Like that life seems miserable. It doesn't seem fulfilling. I just want to go travel the world and ski as much as I can and kind of figure it out as life comes. All the literacy, like we have the tools. I mean, especially with AI or anything right now, if you can ask it and get the rules, but there are the tools. But I think people are more concerned on where's my next vacation spot, or what car I'm going to buy next, or anything. I know the average car payment's like $800 a month now. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, financial literacy I think is interesting, because it's not something you're teaching school, but like with my older children, and just saying, hey, here's like even the Dave Ramsey simple guideline. Here's something you do now.
Yes.
Like this is how an option to live.
Yeah. It's crazy they don't teach it in schools.
It is, right?
I mean, you learn so much on like crazy geometry and algebra that you'll probably not use, or sciences or stuff like a basic accounting, like how to file your taxes, why the importance of filing your taxes or what it all means, and then just by basic financial planning course. I know I took one and it was, very brief in high school, which I maybe like the field, but it's something that I feel like a lot of people should have to take, but you don't see it. So
yeah, hope that changes.
Yeah.
So you deal with people that kind of getting started in their lives all the way through the transition to the end when these estates are passing on to their family or their assets are passing on. You have to have a team around you. How do you typically work with estate planning attorneys, real estate agents? Who else is in your corner at these times?
Yeah, so we try to provide a family office to our clients. So we'll have estate planning attorneys. We'll work a lot with CPAs. So they're accountants. We'll make sure everything's there, and then we do work with real estate agents. Lenders, so bankers, so if they're looking to purchase something, how that actually works. So we try to provide a full team around them of experts, and then again, my goal as the financial planner is to be the quarterback and everything. So to say, hey, you need to dive into this sector. This is why this person's at the table. And just provide a really good, high-quality team around this family, so they know where to go.
I'm sure you're dealing with some attitudes, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying maybe not attitudes, but these people are asked to be put in charge of their taxes or their estate planning or their the legal stuff or your finances. And then real estate agents also standing in there amongst these professionals saying like, oh, hey, I have a voice too.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with some of those dynamics of like who's in charge? Because you just said, hey, I'm the quarterback.
Yeah, I try for it to be us in
and
charge.
Why should a financial advisor be the quarterback?
Well, because we see everything from 30,000 feet, I would say. We're not just looking at, hey, what's the real estate angle at this? What's the tax angle at this? What's the trust estate planning? We're trying to make sure everything is incorporated and every angle is looked at. Because it's really easy, I would say, for the real estate agent, for example, it's like, hey, let's just go buy this investment property down the street, or hey, let's go buy another property, or you can afford this house. And the banker is going to say the same thing. You can afford $1 million house, no problem. And then we try to reel it in on like, okay, what's your goals? How much can you actually afford? And then let's work with the accountant to make sure that everything makes sense. Let's make sure the estate planning attorney makes sure everything makes sense. So we try to, again, quarterback the situation. It is tough. A lot of times it is whoever is the quarterback has the strongest and deepest connection with the client. Sometimes that is the estate planning attorney. Sometimes that's the accountant as well. And that's how W3 actually started, is we started as an accounting firm. And my business partner, Frank Bevilacqua Sr., kept having these conversations with financial advisors, bringing his client to the financial advisor, bringing his client to the estate planning attorney, and being like, I don't think these guys are looking out for their best interests. Yeah. And so they would always look back to Frank and like, hey, Frank, like, what do I do with this? And that's why we kind of started the wealth division of this, to say, hey, we need to provide a really good, high-quality team around these clients, and that's what we did.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
There's something, sorry to keep interjecting,
no.
but it's interesting, at least from a spiritual perspective, how the wealth manager can be the one to have the 30,000-foot view. Not to say it exclusively, and that is the pattern, but there's probably something in there that we could unearth to be like, why is that the case, that someone who's looking at the money can be the one who's most objective or can see things that like the banker or the mortgage or whatever is just like there may be a little too siloed or have blinders on for certain things. I'm sure that's something that's been talked about, or maybe you've thought about as well.
For sure, yeah, it has. And it's easy for me to, or other financial advisors, it is so easy for me to just get laser focused on like, okay, how much money does this guy have invested with me? How can I maximize that, which maximizes my revenue, which maximizes my profits? It's so easy to get hyper focused on that. So it's like you've really got to step back. And again, what we've seen time and time again, the more we do that, again, the more our firm grows, the more we gain trust with the clients, and that's, again, what really matters at the end of the day.
I wonder, though, if there's something inherently present in the topic of money that makes the person who's looking at that able to see the bigger picture more easily.
Yep.
Not to say that your role or your industry is superior.
Yeah.
Because we should all be trying to think objectively.
For sure.
And with the best
with their best
interest of the
interest.
client.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, just as a interesting point, is there something inherent in that, in finance, that
it's the nature of what you're doing. It's like, the result of this is money, and you need to figure out how to manage it. It might just be the fact that, like, you have this asset over here that you've worked on for the last 50, 60 years, and it's like, okay, this just needs to be managed and dealt with. I don't know, but yeah.
I think, too, a lot of the times that I have those conversations with, I'll call it the group at the table. Yeah. That table might be like there for one meeting, and that's it. And that's the last time I see that agent, or the last time that made the CPA. For myself and our team as the planners, we're meeting with these clients usually every 3 to 6 months, every year for the rest of their life. So we're trying to go through life with these clients. A lot of times people are trying to go through a transaction with these clients.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's, I think, to your point on how we can separate ourselves and why the clients have a lot of trust in us, because, hey, we've just gone through the last 15 years of different stuff with you. Of course you're going to trust us in terms of why we're going to bring this person to the table to help you get this lending deal done, or why this estate planning attorney can write this nice trust for you, and then go from there. So.
Yeah, we're thinking of end of life. Do you deal much, or do you advise much on reverse mortgages for seniors? What are your thoughts on reverse mortgages?
Yeah, I think there's a time and place for them, if it makes sense. I'm not ever, I'm trying to think if we had maybe one client actually do it. So I haven't had a client, I haven't advised on it very often. I think there's a time and place for it, if it makes sense. I have been an advocate for clients to take on a mortgage really late in life, which is sometimes counterintuitive, even if they have the cash to just pay off the house.
Okay, why?
Cash flow. So if one of their biggest assets is their house, and they want to move or downsize, I just had a client actually downsize, and I said, hey, maybe it makes sense to just take out a loan and just push it out for 30 years, knowing you're never going to pay it off. But at least you have up to $200,000 of liquidity, and you guys can live, I'd say, a lot more peacefully and comfortably. And you're leaving this asset to the kid, and they get whatever is left over. But at least you get to stay in this beautiful house for the time being. Mm-hmm. So
it's interesting. We just listed a property, goes live tomorrow actually, about a similar situation. A gentleman lost his wife. Stayed in his home, got a mortgage on the property, and then now he needed to move into a assisted living home, nursing home, and the value of the property, because he wasn't able to maintain it properly, the value dropped. And so now basically the value of the property is the same as the mortgage. And so that asset was to care for, to pay for his care. So it kind of got messy. So I don't know if there's any advice on properly doing it, because that is something real. I mean, it also that is a big asset.
It's huge. Yeah. Like you said, most of their assets are in their house. And once you get to the end of life, you've dumped all this money into it, and you can't really suck it out efficiently. We have clients talk about doing the home equity lines and stuff like that, which is another strategy. Which is a good one when the time and place for it. The home equity lines, I would say if you're in your 80s and above, I don't necessarily know if it's the best place. You pay huge interest rates to suck any money out. I never see anyone pay it back at that age, unfortunately. So you're just going to...
It's something that...
the next generation will have to kind of deal with.
Well, great. As far as some of the wrapping up, if you can give a 30-second pitch to people, here's some good high-level financial wake-up call, if you will. What do you got? What would you?
So my pitch to anyone is, hey, meet with a financial planner. find someone that you trust. Or if you don't know someone, try to talk with, I would say, your circle of friends and see who they have worked with or they have someone that they trust. And then just really have a good conversation with them about your goals, objectives, what you and maybe your spouse are trying to achieve in life. And then I would say just get started. And whether that's, hey, we want to just start funneling money away for retirement or a new house, or we have not talked about insurance ever. At least have those conversations. I would say ignorance is not bliss in these situations. It might feel like it when everything's going smoothly, but like you mentioned earlier, like life's not going to go smoothly forever. So I would say just start the process and just make the uncomfortable call to get it rolling.
Cool. You mentioned insurance right there. Like, are there certain insurances that you advise people to have? Like, just like, hey, this one, this one, this one.
Yeah.
These are the top three.
Top three, if you're 20 to 50 years old, make up term insurance by far, I would say.
Life insurance.
Term life
right?
insurance,
Yep.
Term life insurance, absolutely something you should look at doing. If you have kids, 100% you should do it. It is so cheap, and I would say the younger you do it, if you're in your 20s and 30s, it is extremely inexpensive. As you get into your 40s, 50s, long-term care insurance becomes more and more attractive. So I would say if that's something that's in the back of your mind, hey, we want to make sure maybe we cover part of the cost, long-term care insurance. I know whole life is popular. I don't sell a ton of it, but I would say just make sure you get those checked. And then I know you can work with, if you have your auto insurance or anywhere, they can usually at least do a quick check to make sure everything's done. And I know they sell everything. So
that's great. Typically, the insurance companies do a good job of beneficiaries and making sure those are on there. Run into some of the previous conversations that is a really big deal.
It's huge.
Any thoughts on beneficiaries or advising on that?
It's huge. So I would say when you work with a financial advisor or even a banker, usually can kind of give you really good free advice in terms of beneficiaries. I mean, I can look through basically 99% of people's stuff and say, this is what you need to, you should add this as TOD, or you should make this a joint account, or you should talk with your kids about this. And then if it comes to the circumstance and saying, hey, I think you should probably go down the trust route, that's when it opens up that second avenue on things. But it's usually, I would say, if you meet with an advisor, they can give you really good advice on that to check that off the list.
Yeah, that's great. I know personally, just we met with an advisor. We were in our mid 40s or so, maybe early 40s, and it absolutely changed our perspective on our finances.
Yeah,
it was something you're kind of nervous about. You're not sure, is this good enough? Is it not good enough? Is it bad? Is it like?
Yeah.
And then to sit down, it was simple.
Yeah.
And it was one of these things where he advised us on certain beneficiaries, documentation, insurances, underinsured, overinsured, like in different areas.
Yeah.
And was like, here, at least it gave us so much confidence to move forward. And in the event something happened, my wife also isn't working, so it's like, hey, you know what? As a mom of all these kids and running the household and caring for her mom, it's like she was comfortable if anything were to happen to me.
Where to
the
go.
Kids were planned if there's anything to happen to both of us. Hard conversations.
Yeah.
Like you guys asked tough questions in those moments, but it was very, very worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say 99% of people that leave my office are feeling, maybe they're not happy with what the market's doing at that time, but at least I would say they have a lot of clarity when they walk out of there. And I would say if the market's a good spot, everyone's walking out of there a lot better than when they walked in terms of making sure everything's taken care of and they're right on track with everything. So that's what I love when people say, hey, I just really want to thank you for your time and really, making us feel at peace with everything. So it's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Any books you'd recommend around this? Any good ones that have stood out?
I mean, the Dave Ramsey's, I would say, a classic. Rich Dad, Poor Dad's a classic book. The Bible's a good one.
Obviously, it sounds like a lot of financial principles in there.
Yeah, there's some good financial principles in there. I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff.
Any podcasts you'd recommend that might be good?
I have one, but it's very crude,
so
I won't say that one.
Recommend that one. Okay.
Yeah, I would say the more you can at least get a good understanding of finances, the better. But one of the points I made earlier is like having the wisdom to actually know what to do. So one of the advice I would give a lot of people is just because you read it or you see it on the internet or you read it on ChatGPT, I would say definitely meet with a professional to make sure that it's good advice and it works for your family. Because a lot of times people read something and then they'll call me and like, that you can't do that, or that wouldn't work for your scenario and this is why. So I would say it's great to have knowledge, but you really want to meet with someone that has the wisdom to act it out.
If people like this AI thing, I actually love AI. I love ChatGPT. I love the efficiencies. I love the things it can do. However, I have noticed, several people around me have noticed, I know the attorneys very against it.
Oh yeah.
But like, and I would imagine some of the things you see, but like it is wrong many times when it comes to this. It makes stuff up.
Yeah, all the time.
And it's just like, but so confidently it makes it up.
Yeah.
And I call it out. I call the AI out on like, hey, that was wrong.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, good catch.
Yeah.
And then like it doesn't defend its argument. It doesn't say like,
okay.
Wow, how do people like find truth in this? And how to use it effectively? Maybe in your role, like how do you, or how would a family use AI effectively to get good? And when should they use it? Listen to it. When shouldn't they?
I think it's good just to gain basic knowledge. I wouldn't bet the farm on anything AI at this point.
So humans still have a place.
They have a huge place, especially in financial planning. I remember this was probably 10 years ago. The robo-advisor was coming out, which is basically AI for financial advising. It's like, okay, this is how much money I make. This is a portfolio. If I do X, Y, Z, I'm good. Well, that never took off because everyone still wants to meet with a person, have someone to turn to, and that cares about them, not just a computer software. And then I was talking with actually a high school student. He's like, I really wish I could have this AI that had like this, I think Twitter has those accreditations where you get the check marks. I wish this was like a certified, verified answer. And I'm like, you can get that just from an actual person. So I don't know. I use AI all the time. Actually, with our firm, I think we have about I know we have a couple thousand advisors, and I'm the #1 AI user for our note taker in the entire firm. So I use it from notes in terms of just having great conversations with clients. I used to just be writing everything down, and it's hard to do both at the same time efficiently. So I use AI note taker just to help make sure everything's documented properly. And I've had a great experience with it, and accuracy on that's been extremely high. So I use it for that, and I know it's great for emails and stuff like that, but I don't use it for like coming up with greatest ideas for clients.
For like complex actual financial plans.
Yeah, no.
Leave that to humans.
Yeah.
That's great. So is there anything that I didn't ask that we should talk about?
Not that I can think of. No.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a million things to dive into, rabbit trails we could take.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
And really
thank you very much.
To this. How, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, what's the best way for them to connect?
Yeah, the best way. So we have a website, so W3 Financial Group. So our team there. So you can find our profile, and we have a full team of financial advisors and accountants that can help.
Great.
So
okay, awesome. Thanks, Sandy. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.